Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Marlie's Corner. Happy Friday. My name is David Gimmis, coming to you live as usual from Marlie's Corner here inside the paw.com offices. And of course, this is my dog and our best buddy around here and our chief product tester, Marlie. And we do this show every week to give you a little insight into paw.com and everything that goes around in this place that we call our office. So today we have a really great guest. His name is Tim Crosby. He is part of an organization which is a nonprofit called K9 for Warriors. They're an awesome organization. They take shelter dogs, train them, and ultimately make them into service animals for veterans with PTSD. So super excited to talk with Tim. We're partners with K9 for Warriors. And without further ado, let's see if we can get Tim joined in.
All right. How you doing today, Tim?
Doing great. Thank you. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for taking this time to come chat with us today.
It's a treat to be with you.
Awesome. Well, as I mentioned in our little, preview for the show today, we know what K9 for Warriors is all about, so I'd love if you could tell our viewers and everybody watching this live what you guys do.
Absolutely. So we train dogs. About 90% of them come from rescue shelters or owner surrendered. We train them to be service dogs for veterans with the invisible wounds of war. It's an incredible project started by a mom whose son came home from Iraq broken, and she noticed when he was with his dogs, he was a little bit more like his old self. He was a bomb dog handler and trainer, so he knew a little bit about the background of training. And she and her son started Canines for Warriors literally in the kitchen of her home in 2011.
Wow.
And we're now the largest provider of service dogs to disabled veterans in the country. A remarkable kind of Walter Mitty story. And couldn't do it without great people like paw.com who can help us serve our canine warriors as well as our military veterans.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and we're super proud and touched to be in this partnership with you guys. You know, we provide a service to pets and their families that include comfort and beauty and just making their life easier, whereas K9s for Warriors just allows these people to just make their lives livable and enjoyable, which is great. So we're really happy.
We've with the help of your chief marketing officer Jeff Sass, we've actually outfitted our kennel, our vet tech office, our puppy raising office with some fabulous paw.com beds and blankets, and we get rave reviews from the staff, and
awesome.
Especially the puppies. The puppies, I guess, have a particular affinity for the big soft beds, and as you know, we're hoping that we had our first class of the year graduate last night, and after they go home, I think we're going to be able to share one of your great products with them once they get settled in back home with their new certified service dog. And so the veterans themselves will be able to take advantage of your terrific product.
That's fantastic. I'm super happy to hear that. And please, Tim, if you get a chance, can you send us some pictures? I'd love to see how
you got it.
Yeah, how the kennel and everything's set up. I think that would be awesome for myself and the team to look at. I wanted to ask you, so how exactly do these trained service animals, how do they help these veterans?
So in a number of ways, but folks who suffer from post-traumatic stress and related disabilities have the key symptoms are things like reclusiveness, hypervigilance. A lot of veterans, when they come home and suffer from PTSD, they self-medicate. And the purpose of the dog, and again, the distinction between a service dog and a therapy dog is critical. A service dog is trained specific tasks to mitigate the symptoms of a disability, and PTSD is a disability. So the dog in simplest terms, the goal is to get these men and women out of the house with an opportunity to live a normal life. But some of the tasks that the dogs are taught pertain to kind of that spatial thing. They're taught a task to stand in front of the warrior when he or she is out in public, not to be a barrier per se, but it's good space so I can be more comfortable around people.
Right.
They're taught another task called look. So if I'm at the ATM or at the grocery store reaching up on a shelf with my back turned, the dog will be looking behind me in a seated position, and if somebody's approaching, that dog will alert me so I'm not startled. They're taught a task called my lap. And if I'm kind of stressed out, the dog's going to know once he gets to know me that when I'm anxious and stressed out, that dog's going to come up into my mobility related tasks, such as brace. So one of the dogs have to be at least 50 pounds and 2 feet high at the shoulder, because the brace task is for the dog to become somewhat rigid. So if I'm sitting down and I have trouble getting up and down, I can use the dog as for leverage, the hips and shoulders. So it's tasks that help that warrior have a chance to live a normal life. And we've also got incredible peer-reviewed research, thanks to our friends in the veterinary school at Purdue University. A professor there, Dr. Maggie O'Hara, has done a couple of studies, one of which was behavioral and another of which was physiological. And people's brain chemistry changes when they have PTSD. And one of the tests the studies that Maggie did test cortisol levels in warriors who are on the wait list, warriors who are in class, and warriors after they graduate. And after they graduated, their cortisol levels tended to be more normal, whatever that might be. But clearly, the dog has made a difference in the chemical makeup of those warriors' brains. And other outcomes that are measurable is, the VA doesn't support this therapy. Generally, these men and women come to us loaded up on medications, and one of the outcomes is that nearly 90% either eliminate or virtually eliminate their dependence on medications to deal with their post-traumatic stress. So our goal is ultimately to prevent veteran suicide, because y'all probably know 20 or more veterans every day take their own lives. And our founder, Sherry Duvall, found that unacceptable, and that's really what prompted her to create K9s for Warriors along with her son. So again, we see it every day. It's not as easy to share verbally, but Jeff knows this. David, y'all have an open invitation to come to our facility and see firsthand the impact of your support. So I know y'all are in South Florida, we're in North Florida, so it's not that long a trip, but our door will always be open for you, even in this COVID mess, which has really impacted us in myriad ways. We still want you to come up and see what your support is helping to do.
I appreciate that, Tim. Thank you. And the invitation goes both ways. So if you guys are ever down here in South Florida, we welcome you with open arms. But I think it's truly incredible how much love and comfort dogs and pets in general give us. And in this specific situation, they have such a huge impact on these folks who have been affected. So it's fantastic what you guys are doing. I heard you mentioned earlier that the first class of graduating dogs just finished this month for 2021. I was curious, how long is that class, that training of these animals?
Well, there are two elements. The first is the training element. So we have a team who's charged with finding dogs, and they have relationships with shelters all over the country, skewed a little bit to the southeast because of logistics, but we get dogs from as far away as New York and Michigan and on occasion California. We're actually building a facility in San Antonio, Texas, in concert with the city's rescue shelter, because a lot of dogs in Texas come here. So when the dogs come in, they go into quarantine. Again, they have to be at least 50 pounds and 24 inches high at the shoulder and under 2 years of age. They go into quarantine for 10 days to 2 weeks, then they go into in a training regimen. Typically, it takes 3 to 6 months to train those dogs. We have a staff of professional dog trainers who each work with 4 or 5 dogs in their string at different stages of their training. And then each month we bring warriors from around the country. There's no cost to the warrior. There's unfortunately a lengthy waiting list, made even longer because of COVID, because we can't operate at capacity as we try to comply with CDC guidelines and so forth. But so the dogs are ready. The warriors come in on a Sunday, get settled in, and then Monday they have a final meeting with our trainers, where the trainers probe about lifestyle, activity level, other pets in the house, work, play, all those kinds of things. And then they pair the dog with the warrior based on those characteristics. And so we call it Dog Day when the warriors meet the dog. And for those of us on the administrative side, it's the highlight of the week.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So the training process is we have a residential facility. So they meet their dog on Dog Day and spend the next 3 weeks 24/7 with that dog, working with our warrior trainers, all of whom are graduates of the program, who have their own service dog. And then 3 weeks later, last night was the 21st day. You know, it takes 21 days to form or break a habit, right? So that's the kind of the science behind it. Yeah. But last night, our 4 warriors for January graduated with a certified service dog, certified by Assistance Dogs International, and they are on their way home, or some of them went home. Those who drove went home last night. So it's a 3-week program. Our commitment's for a lifetime. We don't just give somebody a dog and wish them good luck. We have a team that stays in touch with them regularly with wraparound services. We have 650 graduating warrior dog teams right now in 48 states, plus Guam and Puerto Rico. And the challenge now is making sure we can get dogs into the hands of people who need them. You know, I don't want to dwell on the negative statistics too much, but they estimate roughly 50,000 physically injured military veterans in the post 9/11 conflicts, but they estimate 400,000 or 500,000 come home with invisible wounds, and they don't know where to go. And so we're the largest in the country, and we're at 650. We're just working on the margin. So there are lots of organizations like us. We try to work together with them, but we need more of this type of therapy. It works. And it's proved now with research.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic what you guys are doing. I say it once, I'll say it again. I was curious, are there certain breeds of dogs that have just a great affinity to being service animals in this sense?
Yeah, well, you know, most of the rescue dogs in our part of the country tend to be some sort of a lab mix. We don't take bully breeds, and part of that is optics as much as anything else. But you know, labs are anybody who's had a lab knows they're great dogs. They're smart. They build those bonds and give you that unconditional love. Obviously, we sometimes get gifts from breeders. Sometimes we have to find a hypoallergenic dog for a warrior who has an allergy, or a family member who has an allergy. So you're not going to find a doodle in a shelter. So we have breeders who've donated Labradoodles and Golden Doodles. And in fact, one of the dogs that graduated last night was actually a Golden Retriever, a gift from a breeder. When we do get a gift from a breeder, we have a wonderful core of volunteers who will raise those puppies until they're mature enough to enter the kennel, usually at about 16 months. So it's you know, every dog provides therapy. I mean, I do this for me. I had a stressful job for 25 or 30 years in the business world. And, you know, after a long day, you go home, and I had a little Cairn Terrier, and she'd jump up in my lap, and it saves the day. I don't have stress anymore because this job feeds my soul. But we see it every day with the warriors here. And we have just kind of it's a mixed bag of dogs. We get a few. Occasionally, we get a German Shepherd or a Belgian Malinois. We do sometimes get full-bred labs or English labs, which are great dogs and breeders. But these big, strong dogs that have big hearts are what we want. And I'll add one thing more, David. Is, you know, not every dog that comes into the program from a shelter is going to make it, because we don't know all the background. But if a dog doesn't make it, we always find a home for those dogs. So the other part that the procurement team does is our adoption program. So those dogs go to good homes. There's no charge for the people to adopt them. We make sure it's a good home. And that's an important part of our process as well to save those dogs.
Awesome. Yeah, what really stuck out at me is that you said people donate puppies. I think that's great. I mean, that's fantastic. And on the broad side, I wanted to ask, before we get into some some community questions, what's the best way for somebody who's watching or who watches this afterwards on Instagram TV? What's the best way for them to get involved in this amazing organization?
Well, obviously, the website has a lot of great information. We're actually in the midst, or shortly will be, upgrading our website with even more kind of intuitive stuff. But K9s4warriors.org. You can learn just about everything about the program, see every graduate who's graduating warrior dog team who's been through the program, learn about what our goals are. For those who might need this therapy, there's an application. I would also add that even though right now we technically serve post 9/11 only, again, it's because you have to draw the line somewhere. We can't serve everybody. But if somebody calls us, whether it's a first responder or a warrior from another conflict, or even somebody who's not involved in any of those things, if they need help, we're going to find help for them, because this space is very collaborative. And that's part of that. You touched on the donations from breeders. It's people want to do something that matters, and that's why we're all here.
Awesome. Jeff?
Yeah.
Some interesting questions?
Hey, Tim, I'm here. I'm off on the side, so you can't see me, but nice to see you. And
Nice to hear you, Jeff.
Thanks for joining us. So a lot of questions, and also a lot of just appreciation for everything that you and Canines for Warriors is doing. So really the people watching are really appreciative. A bunch of the questions you asked. One question was, you said they start around 16 months, but is there an age that's a dog is too old, a shelter dog would be too old to be considered for the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's the reason that the dogs need to be under 2 when they come in is we want to have as long a service life as possible for those dogs. Again, our commitment's for a lifetime. So if a dog that has graduated with a warrior ages out and can no longer perform the tasks that he has to do to be a certified service dog, that warrior will get another dog as long as he wants one. Typically, when they get to be 8 or 10 years old, sometimes they can't do those things anymore. So the younger the dogs are, the longer that dog will have a service life as a service dog. So that's the rationale. A lot of times, we've reached the point now, since we've been around for about 10 years, that those dogs in the first several classes are reaching that point where they are going to age out, or sometimes they might get sick, or they have knees, so they'll tear an ACL or something and can't do those tasks anymore. If a warrior gets a new dog and wants to keep that original dog as a family pet because of the bond, that we allow that as well. So it's a circular process. And again, if our commitment is to the family, and I mean, I can share some of these incredibly emotional things, because the dog doesn't just help the warrior. It helps the entire family, moms and dads, or spouses, or especially kids. They see their dad or mom again. And again, that's our primary goal, to give them back that family.
Yeah, and so the vets keep that dog for life, right? For as long as forever.
They'll keep the dog for as long. Now, we've had situations where the dog has aged out or gotten ill, and the warriors come back and we've given them another dog, and then we'll adopt that original dog out if the warrior does not want to keep them. In fact, we have a couple of staff members who have adopted dogs that way. And then basically the dog is for all practical purposes, is a service dog, in the sense that he or she can perform all those tasks. In fact, that's the case with even the dogs that wash out of the program. They're great dogs, but they just don't hit the threshold to be a service dog. So if you adopt a dog from us, you're getting a dog that's pretty darn well trained, but it might show some timidity or fear in public. It might guard its resources, and any of that is a disqualifier for a service dog, but it makes a heck of a pet.
That's great. And I've been fortunate. The way I came across Canines for Warriors originally was as a member of the CMO club. I've seen some of the vets with their dogs presenting and telling their story at some events I've been to, and it's quite moving and quite amazing to hear the turnaround that just the introduction of that service dog has had on the lives of these veterans who, you know, we're grateful for their service. And this is a way to ensure that their life after service is a better quality. Hot Senior Pups asks, are there ever service dogs in a house with a regular dog? And I guess, you know, what happens there? Is there any kind of, does that complicate matters, or is that cool?
It can complicate matters, but that's one of the factors that the trainers take into account when they try to identify the right dog for that particular warrior. And it's not just dogs; they may have cats or other pets, and that's a consideration. We do require that the number of other pets be limited. You don't want to have a house with 4 or 5 dogs in it. Again, that just makes it a bit of a challenge for the service dog to perform his or her responsibilities. But you know, having other pets in the house is not an automatic DQ, but it's certainly a factor that goes into finding the right dog to fit that warrior's lifestyle.
Makes sense.
Yep. So someone asked, you know, how we're supporting K9s for Warriors. So I think as Tim mentioned, you know, we made a donation around Veterans Day because that was appropriate. And then we've supplied some beds and blankets for their facility. And then our goal is that everyone who graduates from this program, every vet and dog, goes home with a paw.com bed and blanket, just so they can start off at home really comfortable. And that's our goal in terms of support. And of course, helping them promote themselves to everyone, which is why we're here today, because it's a great cause to donate to, and you can go to their website to do that if you're interested. And I think someone asked, Yorabel asked, how many dogs have been paired up with veterans? I think you mentioned 650 graduates. Is that correct?
Last night we had our 650th graduate.
Fantastic.
And you know, when we get back to capacity, we can do 10 to 12 warriors each month. Our residential facility can accommodate 12. Again, since March, it's been a different world. We canceled one class, our April class, but we've had at least a small class every month since April of last year. So instead of 10 or 12, we're doing 3 or 4. And that's put our warrior relations team, the folks who are working with the warriors all through the process from the time they get the first call through their postgraduate period, really put pressure on them. We're actually scheduling out to 2024. So if I applied today, if I'm eligible for a K9s for Warrior service dog and I apply today, I'm not going to come to class until 2024. And our biggest fear is that people on the wait list who are trying to cope with the symptoms of post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury and military sexual trauma aren't going to be able to cope. So that warrior relations team stays in touch with them, both on the phone or virtually or through other private social media platforms. So hopefully we'll get back to capacity here soon and put a dent in that wait list, and that 650 number will be left in the dust.
Yeah.
Jeff, we
Tim,
got time for one more?
Yeah, a couple more. Tim, Adventures of Susie May wants to know, are the service dogs allowed to fly with their vet?
Yes. A service dog is a piece of medical equipment. So in essence, so it's governed by the Americans with Disabilities Act. There are certain limitations with hospitals, but that dog by law can go into restaurants, can go onto airplanes. In fact, we had a warrior this month from Guam. So he's flying from our facility is outside of Jacksonville, Florida. He's flying from Jacksonville to Houston, to LA or San Francisco, to Honolulu, to Guam. So that dog's got to be able to cope with that. And that's part of the training process as well. There's a big problem today with fake service dogs. I mean, the candid answer is we can go and buy a vest online and put it on. I would put it on my little can terrier, and I call her a service dog. But we're actually working with access providers, hotels, airlines, restaurants, et cetera, to create a program where we can truly credential these dogs, and so that we keep fake dogs away from where they shouldn't be, and we provide the kind of service for these disabled people who need a true service dog, whether they're military veterans or people with diabetes or other disabilities. So lots of stuff going on. The dogs, if you see a dog in a restaurant that's purported to be a service dog and it's eating food off the floor, that is not a trained service dog. You can put a steak in front of one of our dogs, and it's not gonna touch it until the handler says it's okay.
That's great. We got more questions than we would have time to answer. People are really appreciative of everything you're doing. And I have to say, you know how on Instagram Live, you see those hearts flying by?
Yeah.
Of all the episodes of Marley's Corner, I've never seen as many hearts flying by on screen, which is just an indication of how much our community appreciates what you and Canines for Warriors are doing.
One more question?
One more. Someone asked, I've been scrolling through them. Most of them, I think a lot of them you've answered. Someone asked, what about the dog's medical bills and care like that once they're in the hands of the vet? Do you support that at all in any way?
That's a really good question. We do have a fund for catastrophic situations. But one area where we have been able to get some traction with the Veterans Administration in some jurisdictions is they have a program for mobility dogs for those who have who've lost their sight or have a different kind of a guide dog type thing. They do provide Trupanion insurance for those dogs with those warriors. We've been able to convince the VA in some, it's inconsistent, but in some parts of the country that our dogs are PTSD mobility dogs, and they have been able to pick up the insurance for those dogs. But that's one of the veteran, it has to work at it. It doesn't just happen. And part of that is they have equity in this effort. So they do have to take care of that dog. But we do have a catastrophic fund for something major that happens. And then we've been able to get that Trupanion coverage through the VA for a significant portion of our population. And hopefully with our research and advocacy efforts, get the VA to support this in a grander way, which will help a lot of the smaller veterans or service dog agencies that really need financial support to be able to deliver the volume of dogs that we need across the country.
Fantastic.
Two last questions. One's a quick and easy one. Is the picture of the dog behind you, Tim, one of your dogs?
Yes. And you see the dog doesn't have a vest on. When the dog has a vest on, he or she is working. But when they take the vest off, they can be a dog. And so we actually have a pool in the courtyard. So sometimes on a hot summer day after the warriors have been out training all day and they come back and get a chance to relax just a little bit and they take the vest off the dog, we'll peek out the window and see the dogs just being dogs. It's a lot of fun. And as you can see, that dog looks pretty happy back there, doesn't he?
He does.
And one last question. We've got lots more, so I encourage people, if you have questions, post them to us. We can try to get answers, or you can certainly reach out through Canines for Warriors directly. But one question which will help people understand the impact of any donation they might make is, what is the cost basically to take the dog and the warrior through the dog's training and then the training at your facility with the warrior? So what does it really cost for one dog and warrior to get together?
Yeah, all in, and that includes all the services, all the wraparound services. It's between $25,000 and $30,000, and that includes. That you factor in that about a quarter to a third of the dogs don't make it through the program. You still incur those expenses of getting them to our facility. We have trainers, we have veterinary technicians, we have the warrior relations team. But I'll tell you that our leadership is focused on being incredibly efficient. I mean, most nonprofits work that way. And 82 cents of every dollar we spend goes to the programs. And you got to have overhead, you got to keep the lights on, but we try to keep that to a minimum. And as we continue to scale, hopefully that number will come down. But that's probably the most efficient of any of the service dog agencies in the country. I put our efficiency up against anybody. I mean, some of them are paying $40,000, $50,000, to go have a dog go through their program.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for all the questions, and thank you, Tim, for joining us today. Paw.com, we're super proud to be partners with you guys. We look forward to a long, solid partnership and how we can support each other in any way possible. What Canines for Warriors is doing is just fantastic for helping out these individuals. So thank you for coming, telling us more about Canines for Warriors. If anyone would like to contact you or reach out through social media, what's your handle? I guess it's up there in the chat, correct? Or
it's at K9s for Warriors, and then the website. And if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, my email address is tcrosby@K9sforwarriors.org. I encourage you to go on the website to learn more, not just about us, but about the need, and talk to your representatives in Washington. There's actually legislation in the House called the PAW. It's actually in both houses. It's called the PAWS Act. Puppies Assisting Wounded Service Members is the acronym or the full name. But encourage your representatives to support that bill. It's very important. Not so much for Canines for Warriors, but for the scores of other service dog agencies that could really need help, particularly in this COVID environment.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, Tim. Have
John,
yourself
thank you.
a good rest of your day. We appreciate you and Canines for Warriors.
We'll do it again if you need to. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. All right. Good chatting with you. Have a good one. Marlie's passed out, but she's kind of waving there too. But thank you, and we'll chat soon. Thank you, guys.